Hello everyone, we're going to be talking about HIIT training today. Do you know what it is? Have you tried it yourselves? It stands for High Intensity Interval Training, and it's all the rage these days because it supposedly allows you to carry out high intensity quality training in a short period of time. The idea is that you carry out short bursts of intense exercise to promote fitness, and some experts are even saying it's the most effective way of burning fat, better than prolonged exercise at lower intensity and lower heart rates. Well, is that true? That's debatable, but whether it's true or not, are there negative consequences from HIIT training? Well, I want to tell you that it's extremely dangerous to do if you don't warm up properly. Let me introduce you to your muscles. Here they are, these spaghetti strands. Now, a muscle is not a single strand. It's like a very thick rope that's made up of lots and lots of little bits of twine. And in between these little strands, these little muscle fibers, also run the nerves, which tell your muscles what to do. So of course, if you compress on these too much, you can cause nerve pain and nerve damage as well. Well, I want you to imagine that you're going to carry out a HIIT training session. You've only got 10 or 15 minutes, and therefore you haven't really warmed up properly. What's going to happen? Well, let's see. So we're putting the muscle under strain, and let's have a look. Well, what you can see is the muscle hasn't completely torn, but what we've got is tears of the fibers, and this can lead to inflammation and a lot of pain. And very importantly, if you want to train the next day or the day after, you can feel very stiff. And why is that? Well, because these fibers have got to repair. Now, the muscle can't actually knot itself. Let's get rid of these damaged fibers because it's attached at both ends. Oh, there goes another muscle fiber. But what it can do is the fibers can get out of line, and I call it congestion. It's when we're twisting and we're pulling these too much. You see, the muscles should extend and contract easily when they're warmed up, but when they're cold, that's not what happens. Now let's look at muscle that is properly warmed up. Here's one I made earlier. This is my spaghetti after it's been in very hot water. So it's equivalent to us warming up, and look what happens now. It extends and contracts just as it's supposed to do. Now that's really important because we're not going to tear the muscle fibers, but also you've got to bear in mind that on the end of these strands, we've got tendons that attach to the bone. If the muscle gets too tight, it pulls too hard on the tendon, and then we get inflammation around the joint. Okay, so we've left our muscle or our spaghetti strands in warm water for a couple of minutes. So this is as if we've been warming up just for a very short period of time. Notice first of all that the water's gone cloudy. That's because the spaghetti has released starch molecules into the water. Starch is a complex carbohydrate, which is basically a series of sugar molecules which are all bound together, and of course they're great for producing energy. So this is like our blood actually when we've warmed up properly, or when we're starting to warm up properly, in that the nutrients are being broken down so it can give our body the chemicals and the energy it needs to perform the tasks we want it to perform. You can see that the muscle fibers are slightly more pliable. However, if I started training a little bit harder, again, we start to get the breaks in the muscle fibers. Now let me just show you something very interesting. I want you to imagine it's a freezing cold day and we haven't really warmed up effectively. I'm going to put this spaghetti in the cold water for literally seconds. Now look at the difference. Hardly any pressure at all, and virtually all of the fibers are breaking. And this is the danger you have carrying out any intense training when the muscle is cold, or when you've warmed up and you've let it get cold again. Here's the damage you're going to do.